The second question we have is, do we have a list of medically necessary statements for programs that we have? So, for instance, trying to think of why block imitation or block building or filling in songs would be quote unquote medically necessary for a client.
So we, for better or worse, are in Canada. We don't deal with insurance companies, which has its pros and its cons. So we don't necessarily program towards what the insurance companies want to hear. We obviously have to do the assessments and the reports, and we have all the same standards from the board. We just don't have the insurance companies' standards to abide by. So we don't refer to anything as being medically necessary with our specific programs.
One of the big things, just, whether you're talking to parents or talking to insurance companies, as an aside, but, ABA can be quote unquote medically necessary in terms of advancing skills of students. However, I would stay away from things like, ABA cures or ABA fixes kids, etc. There's this big talk, about ABA and conversion therapy. And we need to make sure ABA is not conversion therapy. We're not trying to take the autism out of someone, not at all. We're really trying to improve people's lives. We're teaching them valuable skills that, they can use, in a lifelong way, to teach someone language or teach someone how to request for something so that they can, improve their quality of life, period. So that was just more of a ramble, but just be careful of some of that wording if you are using that. In terms of things like block imitation or imitation skills in general, think about learning, right? So think about how we all learn. And, when we first start, if you look at a child in a classroom setting or in a daycare setting, kids are learning from other kids. They're looking and they're copying. And I use that example of kids, but you can also use that example of adults, right? If we go into a social situation that we're unsure of, what do? We look around to other adults and see what everyone else is doing and then copy their behavior. Sheer and I both live in Toronto, and, we jump on the subway. And if I get off at an unknown stop, which is very unlikely because I've worked with a lot of kids with autism who love subways and know every single station, I've probably been to them all. But as an example, if I get off at an unknown stop and I don't know which way is the exit, I stop and I look around and watch where everyone else is going, and then I go there too. So, the reason we teach imitation is because it's the way that people learn from the natural environment. And that's our ultimate goal, is that, kids, youth, adults can start learning the way other people are learning. And instead of one to one, they can learn from a group environment. Filling in blanks from songs again is like just an extension of like intraverbal fill-ins, period, right? So, if you've got a child who's only minimally verbal, the program is successful because, lots of kids like songs. So for those kids who like songs, it's just a motivational way to teach some more intraverbal skills and increase verbal output.
Yeah, and it's helpful for us to think about what is the long-term goal? Is it for them to be able to be independent in a classroom? Is it for them to be able to learn social skills? Is it for them to be able to have, leisure activities? And then you can kind of justify why this specific program will get them towards that. So something like filling in blanks from songs. Well, if they're going to a preschool classroom, then they have to be able to participate in, all of those activities.